Morning. Here we are, Sunday, August 25th, 2024. I'm Larissa. My video diary. It's time to drink some skulls. So yesterday, took the first load of boxes and stuff into the new space. And when we got to the old space, property manager has taped to the door a pay rent or quit notice. It taped this up on the 20th. So I've had a letter taped to the inside of my door since I closed, explaining that the plumbing backs up and I don't have an address, and so I'm moving. And it's been up there for a couple weeks, and it's just like, yeah, what is this notice for? Yes, I'm leaving. It's just like, are you trying to humiliate me? Part of the letter says that, and the harassment that I've been dealing with and vandalism since I moved in is not worth the rent I pay. And so this notice says how much my rent is. And what was really like amusing to me. So one of the people who has been extremely abusive of me, this guy Jody, big gay guy Jody, with his dog Jack. He was like down the street, like watching, and he was like afraid to come up. I'm like, come on up, come up. Just come say something. Come say something to me. Come say something to me. The one time that he got in my face, the time he told me I should take a jog around the block, and I said you're one to talk, Tubby, because he's got this big fat hard belly, and he went at me. I was like, whoa, whoa. He's like, I will never come in your store. I'll come in your store when you're having your going out of business sale. I'm like, okay. Just there is a level of juvenileness in that community that is just like a couple of people, business owners now, they called it old money. I'm like, this is not old money. I'm sorry, not sorry. I know I have known old money. I have known old money. I was born in Pennsylvania and we lived out by Philly. Like I went to Girl Scout camp at the Daniel Boone Homestead. This is not old money. This is just a lot of people who maybe are mentally challenged in some ways. I don't know. I don't know. All I know. All I know is that it's nice to be moving my stuff in, and it's also just a little more than a little stressful. More than a little stressful. And so we moved in a, a load, and we're gonna move in a load or two today. But we had real nice dinner last night. So after we did brought stuff in yesterday, and then I came home, and then Omar had some errands he had to run, and he cleaned the chickens, and then we went out and had a real nice dinner. This whole thing's been really, really stressful. It's been really, really hard on me, and I'm looking forward to it just being over. Like the past the past year and a half has been so bad, so bad. It has been constant, near constant bullying, and even in the cases, a lot of the cases where people were being friendly, it wasn't true friendliness, and I was quite aware. It's a couple people, couple people. Not it's not everybody, like, but you know, I felt like I'm like, oh my God, this is like middle school. I'm like, how old are we here? I'm 46 years old and having hot flashes, and people are still acting like this. Like, what is going on? What is going on? What's wrong with people? I don't even know. I don't even know. But while Omar was off running errands, I played ball with Brody, and so that was nice. And he's real excited about his new tennis balls. He loves his new tennis balls. He loves them. The tennis ball is the superior ball. I promised him, I told him, I said, you will never get anything other than real championship tennis balls from now on, mister. He's very excited about that. No, he is. He's very excited about that. But I brought up a different playlist than what I listen to most of the time. And there were a whole bunch of songs that came up that I forgot that I know. Oh my God. All those bluegrass songs. All those bluegrass songs. Oh my God. Those old school bluegrass songs. It was just one Hazel Dickens and Alice Gerrard song, Working Girl Blues. I totally forgot I knew that song. Got the early Monday morning working blues. I put on my old raggedy working shoes. Well, the weekend was too short, but I can't choose. When the Lord made the working girl, He made the blues. I'm tired of working my life away and giving somebody else all of my pay, while they can live in any old big house they choose. Anyway, yeah, there's all these songs, all these old bluegrass songs. Her music was so ahead of its time. It really was. And her she sang some very, very classic old stuff like Green Rolling Hills of West Virginia are the nearest thing to heaven that I know. Right? Like that's an old one. That's an old one. But then there's stuff that she wrote and it was just like, it's no wonder her stuff wasn't more popular than it was. I mean, it was super twangy, which I mean, Linda Ronstadt, Emmylou Harris, and Dolly Parton. I mean, Dolly Parton's pretty darn twangy, right? But, you know, nothing's as twangy as bluegrass, right? Nothing. Nothing is as twangy except for maybe some Cajun and Creole fiddle, right? Um, her stuff, it was so, uh, women's empowerment. It was so empowering, right? Her music was so empowering. Going round this world, baby mine, banjo picking girl. Going round this world, baby mine. Yeah. Going around this world, I'm a banjo picking girl. Yeah. Yeah, that song. Her music was so good. It was so good. She did not have a pretty voice. She had, I mean, she had a clear voice and was on pitch and everything, but she had a hillbilly holler, and that's what my pap used to say about my Auntie Mum Mum. And my Auntie Mum Mum, she sang on key. She was not out of tune, but it was a sound when you heard that woman sing. And there's only a couple times I actually heard her do it. And she told me, my Auntie Mum told me that she used to sing in church all the time. Now her family was not Catholic. My pap's family was Catholic. Like her father, what was it? Like they were Baptist. Her sister Wanda May was Byzantine, became Byzantine because of my uncle Ted Ivanko. But like my Auntie Mum's family, they were hillbillies, and that's a different thing altogether. That's a different thing altogether. But she told me that when she and my pap were first married, oh no, it was when he first came back from the war. When he first came back from the war, because they got married before they got married, and she went stayed on base with him before he shipped out, and because she was pregnant, she got pregnant with my Uncle Joe just before my pap left to go overseas, and my Uncle Joe didn't meet my pap until he came home from the war. And so it was when my pap first came back, and they were going to church. And she said that she used to sing in church. She wasn't in the choir, but she used to sing from the pew. And she said a woman turned around and asked my grandfather to ask my grandmother to stop making that noise. And I said, "Well, what do you mean?" And he says, "Oh, your grandma's got a hillbilly holler." Well, I heard her sing a couple times in the kitchen at home when she was still able to stand long enough to cook. And she used to sing, I'm so lonesome I could cry, right? Hear that lonesome whippoorwill. He sounds too blue to fly. The midnight train is winding low. I'm so lonesome I could cry. Yeah, except when my grandma sang it, it sounded a little more like Hazel Dickens. It is a tonal quality that comes from culture. And like I said, it wasn't pretty. Hazel Dickens' voice isn't pretty, it's haunting, right? It's like where the sound comes from is being able to call between the hills, right? And let people know. It comes from a form of communication. And it's not just words, it's sounds, it's whistles, um it's more than just music, right? And there's other cultures, there's South American cultures that have similar type of thing. That sounds different, but similar type of communication, whistle communication. There's a language that's used in mountain communities in Caucasus region as well. Um, so it's a human form, right? But the hillbilly, that's Appalachia. That's American. That's truly American. And the sounds and tones also come from the tonal qualities of the music of the Scotch Irish and those people, right? Those people that came from that area in the UK in that time period, right? It always made me sad. My grandma, she said, I never sang in church again. I was like, oh, yeah. Bullying runs deep. Yeah. Yeah, but I'd forgotten about all those songs. That was a song off the Trio album that didn't come up, but I was thinking of it. There's another song. I've been higher than the high Sierra, lower than Death Valley could be. I've been right, but mostly wrong. Wrong about you, right about me. Right? It's a good song. It's called High Sierra. Yeah. Bluegrass is very interesting. Bluegrass is very interesting. The Trio album isn't bluegrass. Now, bluegrass has a lot of banjo and it's got very specific rhythm. And it's, some people confuse bluegrass with jug music. Jug music, some jug music has bluegrass roots, but jug music isn't necessarily bluegrass music. Jug music is born off a hobo line. Um, so it's a little different. It's a little different. Yeah. I don't know. I used to know this guy Chaz played the meanest fucking banjo. I think he could have taken Bela to task. I think he could have. I don't know if Chaz is still alive or not. And one time he was injured. I don't know. He was out of town somewhere. He had this big, crazy, grizzly, gray, wild beard and hair. I think he looked old. His face, he looked older than what he was. I don't think he was. I think maybe uh, he was crazy, crazy guy. He was crazy, crazy dude. He called me the one time because we used to play in the same circuit, and we were just friends. We were never like bandmates or anything. He played with this guy Mike, who played guitar and harmonica and foot drum, like one man band thing. Um, anyway, he called me this one time, and he'd been out of town for a while. And while he'd been out of town, he'd gotten into a fight, got pushed down some stairs, and he broke his back. And he called me. He's like, I don't know who else to call. It was the middle of the day. He's like, everybody else is at work. He's like, I know. He says, I know you're at home. He says, can you just bring me some Tylenol? And I'm like, what? And I said, what happened? He says, I can't get up off the floor. He says, I'm laying on my back. He says, I can't move. He says, and he says, nobody's going to be home here. He had a couple of roommates and they were at work and they weren't going to be back for hours. He's like, so he came. I had never been to his house. I'd never been to his house. And I went over to his house. He's like, the front door should be unlocked. If it's not, you can come around the back and there's a window you can pop in. I'm like, I'm not popping in any windows, Chaz. The front door was open. And I got there and I'm like, I knocked and I opened the door. I'm like, Chaz. And he's like, I'm in here. He was like laying on his back. He couldn't get up. He had to go. He eventually had surgery. I got there. I gave him some Reiki and I gave him this bottle of Tylenol. Or I got him ibuprofen. And helped him sit up. And eventually he went and got he eventually he went. I said, "Are you?" He says, "I can't even play." I'm like, "Oh my god." So eventually he had back surgery, and he was back to playing a number of months later. But he had to get pins in his back. He had to get pins in it. He had like metal stuck in his spine after that. I don't know. Uh, I'm like, oh my goodness, your spine's gonna look like the neck of your banjo. Oh, he was a mean banjo player, really, really mean. There was another dude that was a bass player, and he was African. I mean, he was dark. He was like, and he used to wear this black cowboy hat, and he always wore black. And I mean, his skin was like as black, almost as black as the clothes he wore. He had this big, crazy belt buckle, and he wore gaiters. He wore gaiters, but I can't remember his name, but he played bass. Man, was he good? He was so good. He was a really nice person too. Like, and if you just saw him somewhere, you'd be like, "Ooh, he's a little scary," because I mean, his whole aesthetic was really, like he had an animal skull on his hat and everything. Like he was a little formidable. He was a very sweet, sweet person, and his bass was amazing. He had a big black Fender. You know, nice fat Fender sound. Oh, can't beat that. That nice fat Fender sound. Boom. Yeah, nice. Yep, I like Fender basses, and I like Stratocaster through Marshall amps. That's the sound I like. Yes, I do like me that Marshall amplification. Yeah, it's classic. It's classic. Anyway, anyway, This group of women had these little girls out for dinner. It looked like it was like ladies' night out or something, you know. And one little girl, this little girl's like up, like, oh, we're going to the bathroom or something. I don't know where they said they were going. They went out in like this little alleyway, and I listened to them. They beat up this one little girl. One little girl came back in, but I listened, like nobody was paying attention. I'm like, what are these little girls going over there to do? And they took this little girl over there. She came back with a bloody knee, and she was crying. And the woman was like, "What happened?" And the one little girl, she sat up real tall. She's, oh, she tripped and fell. You know, place where the street goes down. I'm like, no, she did not. But I was not going to get involved because I did not know those little girls and their mommies, and I don't know. I don't know. That little girl was beat up. I heard her. I heard. You don't scream. Well, like whatever. Anyway, crazy. They left. The guy that was busting the table. I said, "Oh my goodness, those little girls were scary." I said, "That was a little girl gangbang out there in the alley." He laughed. I said, "Little girls, they're the scariest animals." He's like, "Yes, they are." Anyway, I'm kind of sore. I gotta be careful. I gotta be careful. Yesterday I carried stuff and my wife's like, "Stop it, stop it." I'm like, I am not gonna just stand around with my thumb up my ass. Anyway, yeah, yeah. We'll go out to dinner again tonight. We will. We'll go to dinner again tonight.